Hello everyone, welcome back to RE Academy Podcast. One student, one creativity. I'm your host, Tiara Septiana Hendrika Putri, and today we are diving into one of the oldest and most exciting epic poems in the English language, Beowulf. Beowulf is a story about warriors, monsters, and epic battles. It was written over 1,000 years ago, but it still influences modern stories today. To help us understand why this poem is so special, I have a great guest joining me, Nyayu Afifah Assyura, who is both a literature and history enthusiast. Please welcome Miss Afifah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. It was a great opportunity, and I'm really excited to talk about the topic today, which is Beowulf. And the reason why I think it's such an amazing story with so many layers in it.
Yes, there is so much to talk about. So let's get started. Alright, let's start with the basics. Beowulf is an epic poem, but for those who don't know, what is it about?
So, Beowulf is an Old English epic poem, like you said, written between the 8th and the 10th centuries. It follows the journey of a great warrior named Beowulf, who travels to Denmark to help King Hrothgar. The king's people are being attacked by a terrifying monster named Grendel. Beowulf fights Grendel, the monster, and then defeats him. But then Grendel's mother comes for revenge. She doesn't like the idea of her son getting defeated. Beowulf battles her too, and then he wins. And after that, he returns home and becomes the king. Many years later, when he is much older, a dragon attacks his kingdom too. So Beowulf fights the dragon but is fatally wounded. He dies, but he is remembered as a great hero.
Wow, that sounds like an action-packed story. It has monsters, revenge, and even a dragon.
Yes, it's one of a kind. It's one of the first great hero stories in English literature. I mean, literally. And even though it's over 1,000 years ago, its themes of bravery and then loyalty and then sacrifice are still powerful today.
Okay, we know Beowulf is an exciting and interesting story. But why do people still read and study it today?
I think there are several reasons why people still choose to read and then study the story. First, I think Beowulf is one of the oldest surviving pieces of literature in the English language. So even though it was written in Old English, which is very different from modern English right now, the English we talk, and I think it's still studied because it shows how storytelling evolved. And then second, the themes in Beowulf, bravery and then leadership and heroism, those things are universal. Many modern books and movies like The Lord of the Rings, which I guess everyone is familiar with, take inspiration from Beowulf. And the last one, but not least, from a historical perspective, I think Beowulf helps us understand that the world of the Anglo-Saxons. It gives us a glimpse into their beliefs, warrior culture, and ideas about honor and fate.
Wow, that's really interesting. So even though it's an old story, it still influences modern stories and help us understand the history.
Exactly. Beowulf is more than just a story. It is a piece of history and it is a foundation for modern storytelling.
Beowulf has so many great moments. But if you had to pick one, what would be your favorite scene?
That one question. I guarantee you that's a tough one. But I would say that Beowulf's battle with Grendel, the monster, is my favorite. I mean, Grendel is like this terrifying monster, right? That has been killing people in the king's hall for years. But Beowulf isn't afraid. He decides to fight Grendel without weapons even. He's just using his bare hands. I think the fight is quite intense, but in the end, of course, Beowulf rips off Grendel's arm and then the monster runs away to die. It's such a powerful moment because it shows that Beowulfs also have incredible strength and bravery.
Yeah, that does sound epic, but it really proves that Beowulf is a true warrior.
Yes, he is, and it is also kind of like a symbolic. Beowulf doesn't just rely on weapons, he also relies on his own strength and skill. I mean, it shows that true heroism comes from within, right?
Yeah, that's deep. But what about dragon fight at the end? A lot of people say that's one of the most emotional moments in the story.
That one scene, definitely. That was also one of the most emotional moments in the Beowulf story because the dragon fight is another amazing scene. In that period of time, Beowulf is much older, but he still chooses to fight to protect his people. It is kind of different from his battle with Grendel, the monster earlier, because this time he knew he might not survive. He, even though he knew he might not gonna win, but he fights so bravely. But in the end, the dragon wounds him badly. So even though he wins the battle, he dies from his injuries. I think that's a sad fact, but a heroic ending because it shows that even the greatest heroes must face death. But Beowulf's name and legacy continue to live on.
Wow, that's such a powerful message. Heroes don't live forever, but their actions are remembered.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also one of the reasons why Beowulf is still so important today.
Some people say that Beowulf is just a violent story about battles. What do you think about that?
Uh, that's a common misconception, I think. I mean, yes, there are battles, uh, even like the dragon battles, and then the monster battles, but they serve a great purpose. Each battle represents a different struggle in life. For example, we have Beowulf fight the monster Grendel. It represents external threats, and then Grendel's mother symbolizes revenge and the past, and we also have the fight with the dragon, which represents fate and mortality. So Beowulf's journey teaches us about courage, sacrifice, and leadership.
Wow, that's a great way to look at it. It's not just about fighting, it's about overcoming different challenges.
Yes, exactly. And I think why it is still relevant today. I mean, people face different kinds of monsters in their life. For example, like difficulties and then fears and then obstacles. And Beowulf's story inspires us to face them with courage.
Wow, this discussion has been incredible. We've talked about themes, influences, and leadership. Before we wrap up, what are some fun facts about Beowulf that most people don't know?
Uh, Fun fact. I have few fun facts about Beowulf. I mean, there are so many, but I will tell you about the one that there is only one surviving manuscript of Beowulf, and it was almost lost in a fire in the 18th century. I mean, like, can you imagine if it had been destroyed? We might have never known this amazing story.
Wow, that's crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah, another interesting fact about Beowulf is that it its story was originally told orally, spoken for centuries before it was written down. So the writer, like poets known as cops, would recite it from their memories. And I think that's why it has some kind of like rhythm that makes it easier to remember.
Wow, that's so fascinating. The fact that it survived all these years is incredible.
Absolutely. And even though it was written 1,000 years ago, its messages about heroism and then leadership and then facing adversity still inspire people today.
Yeah, this has been such a great discussion. But before we end, do you have any final thoughts?
Just that I encourage everyone to explore the classic literature. I mean, Beowulf might seem intimidating at first, but it's a fascinating, fantastic story filled with action and then meaning.
Wow, that's a great recommendation. So thank you so much for joining me today, Miss Afifah.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me too. I have a lot of fun here today with you.
Yeah, and that's it for today's episode of Epic Talks. If you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. Thanks for listening and see you in the next episode. Goodbye.